Right now, as you watch this, your brain is struggling to stay focused, not because of your phone, not because of social media, not because of your willpower, because of something happening in your blood sugar, your stress hormone, and your sleep that nobody has connected for you yet. The inability to focus is not a discipline problem, it is not a technology problem, it is a biology problem. And it has three specific causes, all of which are running inside you right now, that have nothing to do with the device in your hand. And the third cause, the one that explains why some days your brain works perfectly and other days it simply will not cooperate, is the one most people have never heard explained. We get to that in 5 minutes. Here is what focus actually is, at the biological level. Focus is not a skill you either have or do not have. It is a physical state of your brain, one that requires specific conditions to occur. When those conditions are met, focusing feels effortless. Ideas connect, time disappears, you finish things. When those conditions are not met, when the brain is missing what it needs, focus becomes a constant struggle. You sit down to work, you try, you reread the same paragraph 3 times. You open a tab you did not mean to open. You are not distracted, you are depleted. The part of your brain responsible for focused attention is the most energy-hungry region in your entire nervous system. It requires a continuous, stable supply of fuel. It requires a specific hormonal environment to operate, and it is exquisitely sensitive to disruptions in both. When the fuel supply fluctuates, which happens with certain foods, when the hormonal environment is disrupted, which happens with certain habits, when the brain has not fully repaired itself overnight, which happens with certain sleep patterns, that part of your brain simply cannot do its job at full capacity, and no amount of willpower changes the physics of a brain that is not receiving what it needs. The first cause is the one happening right now, possibly from something you ate or drank in the last 2 hours. Cause 1. Your blood sugar is unstable. Your brain runs almost exclusively on glucose. Unlike your muscles, which can switch to other fuels, your brain is almost entirely dependent on a continuous, stable supply of blood sugar. When that supply fluctuates, focus fluctuates with it. Here's what most people do not know about this. The problem is not low blood sugar, it is unstable blood sugar. The rapid rise and fall that happens when you eat something high in refined carbohydrates or sugar without protein or fat to slow the absorption. When blood sugar rises sharply, as it does after a sugary breakfast, a processed snack, or a sweetened coffee, your body releases a large amount of the storage hormone to bring it back down. The blood sugar drops, often below where it started, and in that drop, the focus center of your brain is the first region to feel it. Focus becomes effortful. Irritability arrives. The brain starts looking for the fastest available fuel, which is usually whatever is nearest that is sweet. This cycle, spike, crash, craving, spike again, is running continuously in most adults who eat a typical modern diet. And it explains why focus tends to be worst in the mid-morning and mid-afternoon, exactly when blood sugar is most likely to be crashing from the previous meal. Cause 2 involves something most people think is helping their focus. It is not. Cause 2. Your stress hormone is suppressing your focus center. We covered cortisol extensively in episode 3. But here is what we did not cover: what cortisol specifically does to the part of your brain responsible for focus. The focus center of your brain and the stress response system are biological opposites. When your stress hormone is elevated, the brain prioritizes survival responses, scanning for threats, reacting quickly, staying on alert. These functions live in a different part of the brain, and when they are activated, the focus center is actively suppressed. This is why you cannot think clearly when you are stressed. It is not that you are trying less hard, it is that the biology of stress physically reduces blood flow and activity in the exact region responsible for focused thought. Chronic low-level stress, the kind most working adults carry all day without labeling it as stress, keeps the stress hormone mildly elevated throughout the day, and mildly elevated means mildly suppressed focus on any day, at any hour. This is why the cortisol interventions from episode 3, the dinner timing, the morning light, the caffeine delay, are not just sleep interventions, they are focus interventions. Everything that lowers your average stress hormone also raises your average capacity to focus. And the third cause is the one that explains the days when your brain simply will not work, no matter what you eat or how calm you are. Cause 3. Your brain did not finish what it needed to do last night. During sleep, specifically during the deepest phases, your brain does two things that are critical for the next day's focus. During deep sleep, it clears the metabolic waste that builds up from a day of thinking. A system in your brain activates during this phase that literally flushes out the byproducts of concentration and decision-making. When this system cannot complete its work, because the deep phases were too short, too fragmented, or disrupted, you start the next day carrying the residue of yesterday. Focus is slower, processing is less sharp. During the dreaming phase, it consolidates the neural connections formed during the previous day. The learning, the problem-solving, the decisions, all of these require this phase to fully integrate. When it is cut short, you arrive at the next morning with the raw material of the previous day's thinking, but without the overnight processing that turns it into clear, accessible knowledge. This is why a bad night of sleep does not just make you tired, it specifically impairs your focus center more than any other brain region. And it is why no amount of coffee fully compensates for a night where the brain did not finish its work. So what do you actually do about it? The answer is not a focus app, it is not a productivity system, it is addressing the 3 biological causes directly, and the interventions are simpler than most people expect. For the blood sugar problem, change the composition of what you eat in the morning, not the amount. A breakfast with adequate protein and fat alongside any carbohydrates dramatically slows the glucose absorption rate. The spike is smaller, the crash is smaller. The focus center gets a more stable fuel supply for the next 3 to 4 hours. Specifically, if your current breakfast is predominantly carbohydrate, bread, cereal, fruit juice, sweetened coffee, adding eggs, nuts, or any protein source to the same meal will noticeably improve your mid-morning focus within days, not weeks, days. For the stress hormone problem, the interventions from episode 3 are the direct answer. The morning light that anchors the natural hormone response. The caffeine delay that prevents the stress hormone from being amplified at the wrong time. The dinner timing that allows everything to complete its natural decline before sleep. Every one of these lowers the average stress hormone level across your day, and every reduction in average stress hormone is a direct increase in your focus center's availability. The focus and the stress management are the same intervention. For the sleep problem, the single most impactful change for focus specifically is protecting the last 90 minutes before sleep from screens and stress. This is when the brain begins transitioning into the repair phases. Disrupting this window specifically shortens the deep sleep that clears the focus center overnight. 3 causes, 3 interventions, all of them things you can start today. Your phone is not the problem. The app that is supposed to help you focus is not the solution. The biology is the problem. And the biology has specific inputs that you can change, give your focus center stable fuel, lower the hormone that suppresses it, let it finish its overnight work, and watch what happens to your ability to focus when the biology finally has what it needs. If you want to understand exactly how the stress hormone that is suppressing your focus is also affecting your sleep, your hunger, and your body composition, all of that starts with episode 3 of Body Signals. Watch it next. Subscribe to Body Signals. Every week, one mechanism. Explain the way it actually works.